Today's
Nice.
show is brought to you by Manscaped. The leaders in below the waistline grooming, baby. You know they get all the delicate spots and make them nice and sweet for you and whoever you like to have a little bit of fun with. But more importantly, man, it just makes the male grooming experience that much better, right? When we talk about that Lawnmower 4.0, we talk about the 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, the body wash, that spray, the cologne, you gotta smell good. And like I told you, St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner, so we all trying to get lucky, okay? But the best way to do that is to use the promo code, right? And that promo code is MOATS. Use that code, you get 20% off of your purchase plus free shipping worldwide. So that way you could be like me and all of our Irish people out there and get lucky come St. Patty's Day. All right? So with that being said, baby, shout out to Manscaped. And trust me on this, your delicate twins will definitely thank you as well. Let's go to the elephant in the room, man. We know this is a big day for Deshaun Watson, both on and off the field, right? Today is the day that he goes and faces a grand jury in Texas, and they'll decide on whether or not to proceed with criminal charges. We know if he is found, that if the grand jury feels like, yeah, man, he needs to be put up for criminal charges, well, then any consideration for him goes completely out the window until that trial is completed, and who knows how long that can take. But if he is, if the grand jury decides that, hey, man, we don't have enough evidence to charge him criminally, man, or they feel like it's a money grab situation, then, dude, I'm excited about that. I think that he becomes a real player in terms of quarterbacks that people are going to be trying to acquire. Now, we've been seeing some of the reports about the Steelers definitely eyeing him or potentially having a deal in place for him, and we've seen guys try to dispute that. I'm not here to validate or discredit either party of that because we know that's what talking head guys trying to break stories do. If I don't have the story first, then I'm going to hate on it. And if I got the story first, I'm going to tell you it's the God honest truth and all this other stuff. We get that. But what I will say is if he is available and if he is, like I said, by the grand jury, they feel like he should not be brought up on criminal charges, I'm down to move however many pieces I need to acquire him. Young, talented quarterback like him, proven franchise quarterback like him, force multiplier, a guy that brings in other free agents. Yeah, I don't shy away from that because I know what a franchise quarterback means to an organization. But he has to be found. The grand jury, they have to say that, hey, man, we don't have that on him. That's the only way I kind of look at it like that, man. But what about you?
Yeah, I think that's obvious. What's interesting about this is I was thinking more and more about the Rush trade, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, the Broncos housed the Seahawks on this trade.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what? If it would be something similar to get Deshaun Watson, I think you'd do it. I don't even know if you'd have to give up as much stuff with some of the off-the-field stuff going on.
The reason why you won't have to give up as much is, number one, because he's already made it clear he's not playing for the Texans. He didn't want to play
and
for
he's
them.
got the no
right.
trade, too. I mean, Russ has the no trade as well,
right.
But still.
But in this sense, if you're the Texans, it doesn't make a lot of sense to try to play the hardball game, and I'm not going to let him leave because you're still going to have to pay him, and he's not going to play for you. He made that very, very clear. But knowing that he wanted to go to Miami because of Brian Flores, and now obviously Pittsburgh is in the building, yeah, you're going to have to give up multiple. I think you give up 2 to 3 first-round draft picks, honestly. I think that's what it's going to take to get him and maybe even a player in there. But I'm completely fine with that because he's that caliber player. Franchise quarterbacks do not grow on trees. You pay for what you get. So when I look at Dwayne Haskins, when I look at Mason Rudolph, and I compare them to a guy like Deshaun Watson, I say, man, neither one of them dudes have even scratched the surface or even sniffed what this dude can do. And you think about the rounds we got them in, the way that we acquired Dwayne Haskins, I'm like, we're paying for what we get in those two guys. Whereas with Deshaun Watson, very similar to who? Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. Those guys are proven franchise quarterbacks. No guesswork. They're force multipliers as well, and they draw free agents. To me, I don't think, you bulk at 3 first-round draft picks if that's what it takes. Now, if you could talk them down because of, some of the allegations, great. But I don't think that that's really going to matter if he is cleared from a criminal perspective.
I do believe the first report that Pittsburgh is probably number one on Deshaun Watson's list for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
We're a really good organization. We're always going to be in the mix. And then also, Brian Flores coming here.
Absolutely.
So if that's the case, the ball is probably in our court.
Mm-hmm.
So the question remains, are the Steelers going to be interested in making a move?
And the fact
that's something we don't know right now.
Right.
But there are connections happening.
Yeah. But the fact that Deshaun has the no trade clause, it gives me a little bit more peace of mind when I see other teams interested in him. I know Carolina is a big name that keeps popping up. I don't see him choosing Carolina over Pittsburgh if he could pick. I just don't. I think Pittsburgh is a far better organization. I think that from management, it's way more stability, and he's going to have the support of a guy in Mr. Rooney who doesn't just talk about supporting minorities. He lives it. He doesn't talk about standing by guys through their roughest times. He's lived it. And when we talk about what we've already had to deal with in-house, let's not act like we have, this super great moral compass where we have never drafted, signed, or retained players that have had some off-field stuff, especially as it pertains to women. Like, that's just the nature of it. We know this. So I don't look at it like, oh, we're going to pick and, now all of a sudden, hey, no. He got these type of accusations. We can't touch that. It's like, bro, let's not act like we haven't already dealt with this. And at the same time, I know people say, well, y'all want these distractions? Y'all want to deal with this stuff? This is another distraction. As a player who's been on this team for multiple distractions, as a player, we do not care about what fans or media have to say to make something seem bigger or smaller than what it is. What we view as distractions is what we have to deal with in our day-to-day lives. When you're going home, talking to your significant others, the children, when you're having to, deal with people back home, money situations, that's a day-to-day stressor. That's real. When we hear fans, oh man, y'all got Mike Vick, what's going on? I remember driving into work. We talked about this. Protesters every single day. You go to Heinz Field, protesters. It's like, bro, we don't care about that because this man served his time. This man was found, he was found guilty and he served his time. He got his punishment. With 7, same concept. Was like, okay, cool. We know how everything went down. Boom. Everything got settled the way it needed to. All right, fine. We're rolling with that. Even with the LeGarrette Blount situation, when he walked off the field, it's like, bro, all right, we get it. It happens. That's not gonna separate us. The hardest thing that we really had to deal with was with the national anthem situation. And that was solely because there was a personal rift within the locker room. Whereas with these other situations, that never becomes a personal rift because none of us have been personally wrong. And when we can see due process and everything play out the way it's supposed to, it doesn't have that effect on us like that. But fans will talk it up, media will talk it up, and we're like, bro, that distraction is only going to be for you fans and for media over there. As a player in the locker room who's had to live it, the Facebook Live situation, oh, that's a distraction. Only to y'all, not to us, because all of us were doing it. We all felt the same way. It was just, okay, he kept his on a little bit longer than everybody else. We're not, honestly, that's how we looked at it. We were laughing like, why are y'all blowing this out of proportion? It's not even that big of a deal. But once again, media and fans put way more on that than guys in that locker room because we look at him like that's my brother. It's that simple. Deke, you got a brother. If I'm over here talking bad about your brother, is that going to distract you or are you going to be like, I know my brother. I don't care what you got to say. This is my brother. It's that simple. And that's kind of the concept when you're in that locker room, especially in Pittsburgh, man. It's going to feel like that. And when you have an owner like Mr. Rooney who has, like I said, walked this line and has supported his players through any type of allegation, through any type of turmoil, it makes you feel confident when you walk in that building. It makes you feel a certain level of trust. And for Deshaun, he has not felt that in Houston. And I think that is also going to be a bigger draw for him coming to Pittsburgh in addition to Brian Flores and Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. I saw a comment on one of my video. I think I forget what it was. This might have been a couple weeks ago. The thing, because you're talking about the social media stuff.
Yeah.
We would be getting probably memed out of the league right now, though, by the social media people. Just the memes would be coming in hot. Dude. I can only imagine, but no, you're 100% right. You guys don't care about that.
Hey, from a meme perspective, our quarterback lineup, we rough. Okay, they be nice, they all nice, but they're rough. I'm just throwing it out there. It is what it is. But like I said, that's fans' perspective, that's media perspective. As a guy that's been in the locker room, we've heard the same stuff, y'all. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, all right, cool, we get what you're saying. But we already saw how everything played out. So I don't care about a fan's moral compass. I don't care about a media member's moral compass versus this actual guy going through whatever he has to go through and being found innocent or settling. Like, that's just how I look at it. Nobody is bigger than a judge. Nobody's bigger than a jury. So I don't care to, listen to, oh man, I would give back my season ticket. All right, cool. Well, that guy's just going to take your season ticket. That's fine. I'm not showing up to any other games. All right, cool. Well, that person's going to show up to the game. So that's why for me, man, I just really don't put a lot of stock in that part of it as it pertains to these type of situations.
Yeah. Dude, if he is available, he's interested in us, and he gets cleared. I mean, because that's the big thing.
That's the big thing. He has to get cleared.
I mean, that's obvious. Yeah, because you're right. As much as the allegations are out there and stuff, and let's take a huge shot to his reputation. Yeah. If he's legally cleared, like, what can you do? You can't say anything. Right. It's just all reputation at that point.
And it's like, what's the purpose of having a law and judicial system if we're not going to respect it? If every time something comes up and we're like, whoa, no, we're going to pick this side and this is what we're rolling with, and we determine it got guilty before any innocence or any information and evidence comes out, then what are we doing? What separates us from countries that don't operate like that? That's the part that we love about being in America, right? You get that opportunity to have due process. But once again, even with OJ, that's why you have a trial, correct? So we laugh at OJ. If you could prove without a shadow of a doubt, why didn't they do it? It's that simple to me, man. Why didn't they do it? Answer it. Answer it. Come on.
Dude, I get it. I get it. That's a tough one, though. Watching that doc, that's a tough one.
Yeah, but you can watch whatever documentary you want to watch.
I'm just making a joke.
That's kind of how I look at it, bro.
No, I'm just making a joke. But you're 100% right. Yeah. That's why I brought up
it's due process, bro.
That's why we have the due process. That's why when people make allegations, that's why you go through judge, jury, all that other type of stuff. You go through the courts.
Yeah,
and if he's cleared, then
we've seen the other side of it, right? We've seen the other side of it where guys don't even get that chance to, have the evidence represent them. They feel like, man, they can't afford to have the proper lawyer representation. And we see how that represents and how that affects guys as well, man, especially, what a lot of the NFL players are being minorities. They have, and me personally, have experienced those type of situations where you're like, man, you're guilty before anything happens. So, man, that's why I don't really, play around with that as much as people,
Hey, what do you think about him being suspended, though?
Is there a possibility of it? Sure. But at the same time, I think that he would have a great leg to stand on, especially if he's found innocent from a grand jury perspective in terms of not putting criminal charges on him. I think that's a game changer. I think that gives him all the ammunition he needs to fight Roger Goodell and that Shield if they try to put big suspensions on him for anything. I understand the conduct policy, the NFL conduct policy, and that's real. But at the same time, if these are false accusations, I don't want to hear that, because that's also the purpose of the NFLPA and why they are there to represent the players. Because if it is proven that, these accusations are false, but why should he be reprimanded or disciplined for false accusations? And that was one of our biggest issues that we've been fighting even back in 2014 with the NFL, because we said that, man, in the regular world, you get due process. You're innocent until proven guilty. In the NFL, we weren't getting due process. And we were always viewed as guilty until proven innocent. And that's why anytime you would see somebody have an allegation, whether it was domestic violence, whether it was not even a DUI from a legal standpoint, but just any type of thing there where their name pops up publicly, they're getting suspended. Then it was like, bro, why are you suspending these guys? And it comes to find out they were innocent. It comes to find out this is a false accusation. But that damage has already been done. That guy's money has already been taken out of his pocket, because when you're suspended, you do not get paid also. So that's why we really fought that fight. And then it started to shift in terms of it just being Roger Goodell making these decisions. It became more of a, hey, we got this and this guy to kind of help with this process. And then the NFLPA really started to represent and say, you know what? Well, we're going to make sure we fight any of this stuff to give you guys that real courtesy that you're supposed to get in terms of being an American. What's the point of, like I said, having due process if you're always viewed as guilty first? Like, nah, that should not be the case, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess you're right. If the criminal stuff's gone, I don't know. Are they gonna view the last year as a suspension? Because it's
No,
a
no, no.
weird
He wasn't
scenario where he
suspended. No, he
already
was
won
paid.
it out.
He wasn't suspended. That's why he was, and that was the weird part about it. But for Houston, that was the approach that they wanted to take because it wasn't just the allegations. It was also him saying before any allegation came out, he was not going to play for the Texans ever again, which is why some people even speculate, hey, man, was this the Texans doing this? Was this a little bit of a smear campaign in a sense? And that's the part where it's like, we don't know right now. But due process is going to allow us to get that information. This grand jury that's happening today, that's going to give us that opportunity to get that information. Because if they're looking at it and they review it and they say, man, this doesn't add up, this stinks, I think that this is going on behind closed doors. Well, now that comes to light. Now that has legs, but we won't know that if we don't give it due process.
Yeah, I just wonder if the Texans were actually going to play him if the NFL steps in and puts him on like the exempt list too.
Right.
You get what I mean? Like that's why I wonder if like they're going to consider last year's suspended time.
Yeah, because my whole thing is, man, with the exempt list, you do that when it is, like I said, on a criminal level, or if it's potential to be criminal. But right now, it is not. You know how many guys deal with civil suits during the season? Tons. It's real. But civil suits is a personal issue. And that's why we don't really get disciplined as often for civil suits, because we know with a civil suit, man, it could be somebody just trying to do a money grab. They want to get you to settle out of court because for us as players, we are at a competitive disadvantage in that avenue. It hurts us more to fight a civil suit because of the public eye. We're always viewed as the bad guy. Whereas you could just pay a person $100,000 into that person. They're like, oh, great. You saved my life. I'm done now. I'm good. And for us, it's like, well, cool. It was not even 10%, but it was to get you to shut up and leave me alone so I could go on about my business. That's the part of the problem for NFL players that we got to deal with. And that's why the NFL really doesn't reprimand guys for civil suits, because we know how frequently that happens. Just because it's not public all the time, it happens a lot.
What other teams are out? I mean, all I'm hearing is Panthers and Steelers. What other teams for Watson right now? Like are actually legitimate.
The Colts,
the mix.
The Colts are in there,
I guess.
But you have to worry about, because obviously with the division and stuff like that. But I'm trying to think who else.
Yeah, I could see the Texans not trading him to the Colts for that reason. And then we talk about the no trade clause, so
and that's
you could also see where he doesn't want to go to the Panthers.
Yeah, he dictates his terms in this, and that's the best part. That's why we are in that driver's seat, because we already knew that he wanted to play for Brian Flores. He was very specific about that. And now with him being here, Brian Flores, I'm talking about being with Pittsburgh, it's only right. It makes the most sense. And we have a need at quarterback, along with having money to pay for a guy like Deshaun Watson.
Miami was in the mix. I don't think they are anymore with the new coach.
Well, they already said that. They said that they no longer are interested in any other quarterback because they believe in Tua. So, yeah, Miami is definitely off the board.
Tampa Bay. I did hear Tampa Bay.
Yeah. But I know with them, I got to see their money situation. I know that's something that people have talked about with them, if I remember correctly. But,
it's got to be bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was about to say, they still have a money situation that they got to handle, and that's why with them, they still don't view them as like that favorite, and that's why they really talk about Pittsburgh and Carolina. But the no trade clause that he has changes everything. But also, I mean, that's kind of like with the Jimmy G situation. I know I just saw with him, with his no trade clause, he said he had specific teams that he would waive it for, and Pittsburgh being one of those teams as well, man.